What is up, everybody? It's Joe from JLW Games coming at you with another cool video back in Planet Coaster in the one, the only, Time City. And today, to get stuff started off, when we left off, we were working on some shops on the right side of the entrance. Now we're going to work on the shops on the left side of the entrance here in Time City. These shops just make it look so much better. I hope you guys agree. A lot of people have agreed so far that it's way better than just that little wooden fence that I've had. And I have to completely say that I'm really happy of how this has actually turned out. These are just actually some simple buildings. I didn't take too much time on these. They didn't even need a whole lot of details. I detailed them pretty well, but they didn't need a whole lot. But it just gives that when you get into the entrance, there's usually a lot of shops and facilities and just a lot of cool things, you know, like gift shops and maybe even some restaurants or some stalls, different stuff like that. That's kind of what I wanted to have in here in the entrance area, just so there's a lot of stuff at the beginning as you start your journey of the amazing park that you're about to embark. So anyways, I had to go in and readjust some of these paths. Was kind of interesting, but overall it turned out really fantastic, and I couldn't be happier with how the entrance has turned out. So later in the episode, we're also going to be going into doing a lot of tedious work in the parking lot and actually get some of it done. So this is probably the most exciting part of the video. It's actually at the beginning. So anyways, looking pretty awesome. Now, as for the timeline of the park so far, you know that I announced that the park will be opening on May 18th, and I still am shooting for that. I still think we have plenty of time, most likely, at least to get 2 sections open. It shouldn't take me, as long as once we get the parking lot done, which actually won't be too much longer, maybe even another episode or 2, if that. We're actually going to go do some final touches on some of the other sections. Like, I still have another thing I have to accomplish in the Apocalypse section, and we just want to make sure that those 2 sections are prepped and ready to go for opening. Then we're going to go into the Roman section and work on it, and if we have enough time, we might get it done on time, but again, we're about 12 days away from opening, so this is going to just kind of focus. It's just going to be hard to get to that point, to get 3 sections open. I don't think we will, but you never know. There could be that possibility. And then after the opening, I will try to have an announcement for when the following sections will open up later this year. So anyways, I'm going to shoot for May 18th for the first 2 sections. The 3rd section to open will be the Roman section, and I'm thinking about maybe June or July of some sorts of possibly getting it open, or I could potentially open the final 2 sections up at the same time, but we'll have to see. But we're nearing the ends, and you know, there's not as much as to do as you might think. Like, we're really close to finishing. Like, the entrance area just needs a couple tweaks here and there, and then you do need to do another couple. There's some more stuff in the entrance area that I do have to get done, but it shouldn't take me too terribly long, and it shouldn't even take me a full episode, to be honest. But there's a couple more buildings that I should probably build and different stuff like that. But for the most part, everything is kind of shaping up to where I think we'll be good to get everything done before the 18th. I'm going to be, should be able to stream quite a bit the next couple days, more than this last week. I mean, I had a 15-hour workday the other day, so I'm still kind of recovering from that in a way, because it took a lot out of me, and I just didn't have the willpower to work on anything the last couple nights. So, and hopefully that won't be the case. Like, tomorrow's my actually my 3-year anniversary, so I won't be streaming then, but maybe today, actually, after this video goes live or goes up, I'll probably be streaming then. For quite a bit today. I want to try and maybe record a full episode if I can, a full 4-hour episode in one stream. Let's see if that happens. Hopefully it can happen, but you know, there's always the possibility it might not happen, but we'll see. And my goal in the next episode is to try and completely finish the parking lot and get it done in its full entirety, because basically all we have mainly left is to do some line work and different stuff like that. Maybe a couple more things here and there that I might find, but for the most part, that's the main thing we have to do. And then I have to work on the entrance area. So yeah, lots of stuff that's coming together, and I just have a full workload ahead of me within the next week or so, because obviously we're in the crunch time now of getting this completely done. So we want to make sure that we keep true to that, and we don't slack off too much. So not too much. We slack off a little bit, not too. Actually, we probably can't slack off at all. We're literally down to the final days of getting this done of what we needed to. And like I said, I confirmed that there will for sure be 2 sections open by opening day. And this opening day, I would almost consider it as kind of like a preview for the park, and the park's going to be kind of opening up. Most of it's or the second half of it's gonna open up later in the year. So hopefully we will actually get it done sooner rather than later. And I think the rest of the park that I have left to do, obviously, isn't going to be too terribly hard. Like the Roman section, yeah, I have quite a few buildings to build. That's the main part. But that's mainly the main thing right there, is just some buildings and maybe another flat ride or 2 in the Roman section, and it'll be done. But for the most part, I just gotta finish up those rest of those pieces, and just kind of complete the area and stuff. You can see in that top right corner there, just for a second, that area is the main part that we have left to do in the entrance area to get it kind of completed and everything like that. So I actually go back over here to the right side and kind of detail the frozen yogurt building, which is actually awesome. It actually turned out pretty cool, just kind of a generic kind of cool building. So that's kind of what I was going for with it. Not too many details, and it works pretty well. So that's all I had to do. And then some touch-ups here with the pathway to kind of cover up the grass areas to make sure that these connect very flawlessly and just look kind of good. So anyways, got the Missy goods over there, and then there's a couple sections here that I have to maybe kind of fix up as well. But anyways, going over here, we have to go and finish up some curbs and some fencing, which is what you're going to see for pretty much the rest of this video, is just doing this, the other side of the fence. Remember that episode we did the one side of the fence and curbs? Yeah, we're going to do that entire other side coming up here in just a moment, which of course can throw off as a kind of boring-ish episode, but then again, we did some pretty good stuff, and the payoff is definitely worth it. And you just gotta keep that mindset, that the payoff's worth it. Just keep pushing forward, and everything's just gonna go great. Oh, I actually had to go out of the. I forgot that I had to go out, and this is actually where I go and change the terrain. So I loaded out and then went back in because I added some terrain. This is another cool thing that I wanted to do. I swapped out some of the terrain pieces, or the terrain textures, and by doing this, I actually made the world a little more green, which actually is what I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time, and I was hoping it didn't affect it so much to where I would have to make a lot of adjustments to the terrain, but it did just enough perfectly where I didn't actually have to change the terrain that much, which I'm pretty happy about. So, but now the world is more green, and it looks a lot more natural and looks way better. It blends into the outside world a little bit better. When I first made this world, it didn't really turn out great because I mean terrain, like the texture terrain wise, because I selected some odd terrain textures for some reason. So it's something I've been wanting to fix for literally like the entire time, and I finally fixed it, and it actually turned out just fine. So I'm actually happy that it didn't affect the world too bad. So that's actually a good thing. And I got rid of all the dry grass, all that kind of yellowish texture that you've seen throughout the world. That's actually like dry grass, and I'm like, I don't really want dry grass. I want like green, a little bit greener grass that's a little more natural. And you never want to go too green because then it becomes a little bit unrealistic and a little more cartoony. And you have to do some terrain mixtures sometimes to make it look a little bit better and everything in that regard. So anyways, I will get this little fence here. This fence is actually part of a Theme Maker's Toolkit, which actually works really well in this situation, and I like that. So I had to come up with like a gate here for the backstage area, which actually connects to, like an employee lot and everything, just to have like this gate here for this lot in case they have to have some maintenance or something out onto these pathways during like a day that the park's closed or something, or during closed hours, can be done within there. So Anyways, I was looking for a specific piece here just to make this look a little bit better, and it ended up looking pretty darn awesome. So I knew I had to make a transition between the one fence and into the other fence that we've been using. So I did an interesting transition here and actually made it kind of work. And I'm actually pretty happy of how it turned out. So anyways, going into the second half of the recording, we go ahead and finish up all these curves, and I stuck it out until the end, and I kind of did my best. I actually did go back and just kind of work on some other stuff and go back to this just to kind of make sure that I don't get too bored. It kind of helps with my patience a little bit. If you know me, that's kind of how I is that I'll work on something, then go back to another thing, and then come back to it later to try and get it done. So I'm trying to get out of that habit, but for this it actually works fine, because for the parking lot I needed to do this and get a lot of the line work done on the parking lot itself. So it's okay here because I've already spread it out with my building style. So anyways, starting next time I do a park, I'm actually going to go one spot at a time. So you can see kind of my transition into this fence. That's the way I kind of went with it, and it worked pretty well, I thought. And so getting this fence around to the curb, and just remember, this is going to be a long, tedious part of the video, so I can understand if you fast forward to the end. But yeah, this parking lot is almost done, and what we're going to be doing is a lot of line work probably in the next episode, and my goal is to finish the parking lot as a whole. I don't think there's much more except for the line work ahead, so the line work's going to take up a lot of the time. It could potentially take up all of the next episode, but we'll have to see, and it's kind of a waiting game and a wait and see for that. I think it will probably take the rest of the next episode, so if I had to guess, because there's more there than I think there is, and working with some of the terrain spots, it makes it a little difficult in some spots, so I'm not a big fan of that. But then, I get into my favorite thing is trees. Is kind of how I occupy my time away from the curbs and stuff like that. And then I was like, I do need to get this road kind of connected here, and I'm going to turn this actually into a crosswalk for the guests, because that is also the walkway for the guests. And we get a little bit into some line work. I continue some of the dashed lines down here for the parking lot and the road, and it works out pretty good. So I'm pretty happy of how the line work is actually turning out for the most part in this build. So anyways, I hope the parking lot's looking pretty good. I think it's looking a lot better than what it did for sure since we've been working on it again lately, and I hope it's everything that you have imagined it to be, because I'm actually getting better at parking lots, and with each park I start, my parking lots become a little bit more a lot better and a little bit more advanced, and just getting to a point that makes a little bit more sense in the end. So I'm pretty happy with how they're turning out, and it just adds so much detail putting this line on the edge of the road, because that actually is how roads work, or they actually have the white line, and it just adds that little bit of layer of detail. It separates it from looking like a path and actually making it look like an actual road. So it's pretty nice to have. So anyways, it'd be cool to have some road pieces from the pathways. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know if Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 had those, right? So why not Planet Coaster? Maybe eventually. I don't know, but it's just kind of a neat little thing. And yeah, so there's a lot to go in here. If you guys didn't hear what I'm going to be doing after Time City for plans, in case you haven't seen recent episodes or stuff like that for some reason, maybe you guys might not know that after Time City is complete, my main project will be the roller coaster, the Silver Dollar City recreation. I am going to get back into that series very heavily, and I mean very heavily. It's going to be my main project. I'll probably still do some side projects here and there, but it's going to be my main project until I complete it, probably, or at least for a while. I don't know. I really want to get to work on that because it's got the potential to be one of the best recreations of all of Planet Coaster, and that is what I want out of it. So I'm excited to see what comes of that, and I hope you guys are excited too. We've been working heavily on that entrance area, or the last episode we worked heavily on the entrance area for Silver Dollar City Recreation, so that's pretty awesome, and it actually turned out really, really good. So next episode I'll probably be working on where the ticket booths are from the guest relations and all that area right there, just kind of completing it. There shouldn't be too much there, and then I might go into the bakery and all that fun stuff. It's gonna be a great series. You guys definitely love the Silver Dollar City Recreation. I know a lot of you actually came from watching that series, and so I think it's just going to be, it's more of a successful series anyways on my channel, so I'm definitely going to be bringing it back. It's going to be a great to see where that goes and everything. I think it's going to be one of the best recreations in Planet Coaster by far, and you guys are definitely want to check that series out. If you haven't checked it out already, be sure to check out the playlist. I think there's about 35 episodes, and I've changed it so much, so if you're watching from the beginning, I've changed the worlds that I work in so much, so just keep that in mind before you go too far into it. So anyways, back to the curbage here, if that's what you want to call it. Did we call it curbage? I don't know if you want to call it curbage or curvature, you know, curbing, whatever you want to call it. But this is always the tough part, is working with the hills and the terrain. And, you know, I just made it hard on myself, but, you know, having that terrain there actually just makes it a little bit more realistic, in my opinion. Instead of having completely flat land, you don't really actually see completely flat land throughout parks. You know, there'll actually be a little bit of differences in the terrain here and there. Even if it's the slightest difference, it could still look flat, you know, but in the most part, it actually might not actually be flat. So anyways, that's that's how it makes sense. But so yeah, by the end of this episode, we actually do complete the curbs on this side and the railing all the way up. Yeah, I did it. You know, I did it. I feel accomplished by it. Yes, was it tedious? Yeah, it took forever, and you know, just a lot of adjustments going up this hill, and you know, it turned out being probably the best it could be. So anyways, a lot of people are asking, you know, how many roller coasters is this park going to be opening up with at opening? And it is actually 5, I believe, because you got Raptor Run, you got the Kiddie Coaster in the Jurassic section, you have Salvaged, which is 3, and you're going to have the Flying Coaster and the Sci-Fi section, and you're also going to have the Dark Ride and the Sci-Fi section, which is technically I'm counting as a roller coaster because I am using a roller coaster for it, and it's going to have drops and such like that. So yeah, 5 coasters in all in this park, and it's going to have probably the most rides ever done in a singular park and everything. So this park is actually able to manage up to over 20,000 guests, which is actually bonkers, incredible. I don't know if there's I wonder if there's a record for how many guests can fit in the park. You know, I wonder what's the most guests that someone's put in the park. I actually got up to 21,000 on a guest flow test, and it was incredible. That's not even with like facilities and stuff, because all my employees quit on me. I don't know why. You know, it's the best place to work, and they just quit on me. So all my vendors, we didn't have like any vendors and stuff like that. So just got to keep. I'm curious of how. I wonder if I could reach 30,000. I really did. I mean, obviously my frame rate was absolutely completely terrible with that many guests, but at one point it was just so low that it didn't drop anymore. You know, I don't think it was possible to drop anymore without the amount of guests that we were getting. So it took literally hours to get that many guests in there, though. I had full marketing campaigns going on as well, so I mean that also drove guests in there. They were flowing in there for probably a good 2 hours just coming into the park, which is just like, holy poop, you know. It just took up so much time just to get all the guests in there, and it took a lot of time before a lot of the rides were actually getting lines, and I was a little bit worried. I'm like, man, they're not lining up in those lines, and they ended up actually lining up in those lines later on. But I can't imagine, like, maybe like in you know, when our systems today are going to be laughable, and in the future we're going to be able to play Planet Coaster like literally with no, we can have 20,000 guests maybe. I don't know. Maybe that'll happen someday. Probably not. But if it does ever happen, where our computers can handle that much going on at once, and then we can get some decent frame rates. That'd actually be kind of cool, As much as I love my computer, I've been having a lot of issues with it lately, so I'm actually thinking about getting a new one eventually. I don't, not in the near future. It'll probably be like another year or two, obviously, because I've had this computer for probably just over a year, maybe close to a year, or maybe I think it's been over a year already. But I've just had some issues, and basically ever since I had to replace my motherboard in it, it's been having some weird issues with it. So I don't know. I mean, it still works fantastic. Don't get me wrong, it still works fantastic. But I don't know what it is, but it's still awesome. I would not trade this computer for a lot of computers. But anyways, that's it for the episode, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe for more amazing content like this. And have a great day. Even cooler tomorrow, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks so much, and goodbye.